Hey, it is your favorite remote work enthusiast, Delilah. I hope you're doing well today. I'm really excited to share today's video with you all. This is my speaking segment from the Remote Work Summit, which is a virtual conference that I was recently a part of. I was asked to speak on the topic of 7 tips to efficiently work remotely, and it was just a really great experience. And I really enjoyed the topic because I love remote work. Now, not a lot of people know this because I don't, shout it from the rooftops, but outside of YouTube, I actually am a hiring professional. I help out remote businesses with their hiring needs. That's what I do full time. And then YouTube is a very fun hobby for me, something that I do on the side. So I'm in the remote industry, not only from my YouTube channel, but actually doing the hiring. And it's always awesome to be able to connect with other remote professionals because the nature of our jobs just doesn't really allow us to be around each other. So even though this was virtual, it was just really nice to be able to connect with other remote professionals. So I really hope you enjoy this topic, and you might want to get your notepad and pen out to jot down these tips, but I'm going to go ahead and cut to the segment right now, and then I'll come back on camera at the end for a few more thoughts. So I hope you enjoy. Hey there, I hope everybody is doing great today. My name is Delilah Bell, and I own a company called Remote Work Life. I help remote businesses with their hiring and human resource needs, as well as teach people how they can get started working remotely via the digital courses that I offer, my YouTube channel, which I am very active on, and my website, remoteworklife.co. It offers a lot of different resources such as work from home jobs, blogs about work from home, equipment, and just a whole bunch of stuff. So it's really like a one-stop shop for anyone who is interested in working remotely. And I absolutely love remote work. I am a self-proclaimed remote work enthusiast. Anytime I have the opportunity to talk about remote work, I am going to take that opportunity, and today is no different because I am going to share with you all 7 tips to efficiently work remotely. And these are tips that I have actually made a blog post about. They matter a lot when it comes to being efficient and also when it comes to getting the most out of your remote career. These are tips that I have really tested out, and they are important, and I've got a lot of benefit from them, and I hope the same is true for you. Now, just to give you a little backstory as to why these tips are the ones I'm going to share with you, I want to go back to when I first started working remotely. And I had just come out of a career where I worked as a marketing rep for an insurance company, and I was always on the go traveling. I was always on a plane or in a car headed to somebody's office to have a meeting. And I would often be gone for days at a time in another state, and it was just a lot. So by the time I came to remote work, I was just totally burnt out. I was ready for something different, and I took the complete opposite approach that I had taken with my previous job. So whereas before I was waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. to catch my flight, I was now sleeping in until 8 or 9 a.m. And then once I got up, finally, I would go to the kitchen and make myself a nice big breakfast, and I would sit down and watch trash daytime TV and scroll through social media endlessly, and that was my routine, and it was very unfulfilling. I did not like that. I did not feel proud of myself, and I really thought about, what can I do to make
some changes that are going to help me be more efficient and get more out of working remotely. And that is where these 7 tips come into play. So these are tips that I live by, and I think they're going to really be helpful in your remote career as well. So tip number 1, meal and snack prep. Now, I was definitely prepping my food. I would, make that big breakfast every morning, and I was always making it from scratch, and that took a lot of time that could have been better used. And I was doing that for my lunch and for my dinner, and you can imagine how much time I spent cooking. I love cooking, so that's why I was always taking the chance or the opportunity to cook a fresh meal. However, prepping your meals is really important when it comes to being efficient because you don't have to waste the time cooking. And I still love cooking and I still do it, except now I cook maybe once or twice a week, and I just cook larger quantities when I cook so that I have food ready and waiting for me when it's time to eat. And that has helped me take so much more of my time back. I can still eat the food that I love to cook, but I don't have to cook it daily or, fresh to order. And even on days where I haven't prepared anything, I can still save time with my meal prep by using apps like DoorDash or Grubhub, Uber Eats. There's a bunch of them, and I can have my meal delivered to me, and then I don't have to take time out of my day to do that prep. So meal prep and snack prep, really important. And also just from like a health standpoint, if you're home-based primarily, it is so tempting to just walk into the kitchen, grab a snack, and literally snack all day long. So when you already know what you're going to eat, it helps you be efficient and it helps you stay healthy. So tip number 2, structure your day. So I sort of got into some structure areas with that last tip, but you can take that approach to your entire day, and I recommend it. So I already know on a day-to-day basis what my day is going to look like. For me, I like to wake up, I like to work out, I like to do my most important tasks immediately after my workout, and then that's usually time for lunch, and then I get back to work until my workday is over. So my structure is more or less the same. I always know where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing because I structure my day. And I always start off my day by mapping out what my to-dos are, and I prioritize my most important tasks for right after my workout when I first begin working. So structuring your day allows you to be able to get back to what is important and what you're supposed to be doing, because things do come up. If you're home-based, if you're not in an office, it is so challenging to stay on task because things are always coming up. The phone might be ringing, it might be a family member, or your dog starts barking, or the mailman comes to the door, and it's just easy to get thrown off. So when you know where and what you're supposed to be doing at all times, it helps you stay efficient. So tip number 3, use your peak hours effectively. So I kind of hinted at this in my last tip, but my peak hours are right after I have just finished my workout, and that's usually between the hours of 8 a.m. and noon. During that 4-hour window, I am just on my A game. That's the best time of day for me to do the most important tasks. Usually I do the tasks that I least want to do during that time. And if I do them during that time, I know that not only am I going to get them done efficiently, quickly, but they're going to be done to the standard they need to be done. And I just work best during that window of time. I can still work after that window of time, but I have noticed that my productivity decreases. So when it comes to peak hours, you want to figure out, when do you do your best work? For some people, they're early birds. The earlier they wake up and the sooner they knock out those tasks, the better. And then there are some people who are night owls. I have tried out both approaches, and that is how I was able to figure out that my perfect window of time is that 8 a.m. to noon slot of time. So peak hours, they help you with being efficient, they help you get things done, and you just want to figure out when yours are. So tip number 4, you want to get into the right mindset for work. Now, when you work remotely, it can sometimes be difficult to stay focused and to stay excited about the work that you're doing because you don't really have people around you who are all on the same accord, who are all doing the same thing. And sometimes it's easy to just sort of slip into monotony. And, next thing you know, you're not really enjoying yourself. And that has happened to me on several occasions. And I actually think mindset is something that should be talked about more in the remote community. I feel like it's not talked about enough because there are so many things that, when it comes to working remotely, directly relate to mindset. And it's important to just stay positive. So what I like to do is I like to listen to entrepreneurial podcasts about working from home, or I'll listen to some motivational speakers who just really get me fired up. And sometimes I'll just pull out some of my favorite books and I'll read some things from there to help me stay focused in my business. Whatever it is that you do to help you stay positive and on top of your A game mentally from a mindset perspective is going to help you with your efficiency. So when you want to work, you're going to do a lot better work versus when you're dreading your work and you're like, oh no, oh no, oh no. You want to be like, oh yeah, I get to work. So that is a very helpful tip for staying efficient. So tip number 5, you want to create an at-home office. This is one of my favorite tips because I love decorating and it's fun for me to, create a space. On my YouTube channel, I actually have a cribs style tour of my old office. I recently moved and redid my office, and now I've taken a totally opposite approach. I'm going like super minimalist. I have like my L-shaped desk, my film equipment, my laptop, and I'm completely paperless. So my office space now really fits me and my work style, and it has helped me be efficient because whenever I walk into my office, I turn on work mode. It's where I get my work done. It's where I do my thinking. And when you create an at-home office space, that is exactly what it does. It serves the purpose of helping your mind get into work mode. So create that space that helps you stay focused, that just makes you mentally go to that place of I'm working and I'm in work mode, and that's going to help you be efficient. Now, there's always a time and a place for working outside of your office. That's one of the luxuries of working remotely. We have that autonomy, but as much as you can, try and create that one space that you go to work, and you're going to see an increase in how efficient you are. So tip number 6, exercise and stretch regularly. I laugh because this is a tip that I struggled with the most, I think. Originally, when I first started working remotely, I did not work out as often as I should, if ever. I was very sedentary, and that is a pitfall of working remotely. I have found that it can go like one of two ways. You can be like super sedentary, you're always sitting down because that's the nature of working remotely, or you will be very active because you have the freedom in your schedule to move more. And I am now on the opposite end of the spectrum now, thankfully. I work out 5 days a week, but not just because I know I should. The benefits that it has given me with my remote work, I can't deny them. When I move my body and I get a good sweat, my mind just focuses better. I have better mental, just cognition and work and all those things. So like working out is something that I know is a must and I highly recommend because my efficiency has improved. And when you incorporate movement, it's just going to help with efficiency overall. And even if you don't have time to do like a full-on workout, you can take opportunities such as your lunch break to take a quick walk, or anytime that you get up to maybe get a glass of water or something, just do like a quick 60-second stretch. That is going to help you with being more efficient because the blood flow is going to be circulating and you're going to be able to think clearly. So get moving. And last but certainly not least, tip number 7 is experiment. All of these tips that I'm sharing with you, they came from me experimenting. The very first experiments were what not to do. And now, after some trial and error and testing out things, I have found what works best for me. Now, you will find through experimentation what works best for you. And maybe that might mean instead of waking up and immediately working out, you might get straight to work. You might be an early bird, or you might be a night owl. You will only know that through trying different things out. And that is going to help you come up with the remote work lifestyle that best fits you and is most efficient for you. So everybody's schedule isn't going to be a one size fits all. What I do won't necessarily be the best thing for you to do, but experiment, figure out what is best for you. And that way you can come up with your tips that you live by so that you can be as efficient as possible when it comes to working remotely. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time to listen to these 7 tips to efficiently work remotely. And I hope that you have gotten as much benefit out of these tips as I have using these tips. And I really enjoyed sharing these with you. And if you want to stay in touch, you can find me on socials such as LinkedIn. My profile is Remote Work Life. You can also subscribe to me on YouTube. Go ahead and do that right now. It's youtube.com/Delilah Bell. And then you can also check out my website, remoteworklife.co. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and hopefully we'll talk soon. Bye.
All right, there you have it. Those are my 7 tips to efficiently work remotely. Now, I just want to add a couple more thoughts to that. All of these tips are tips that I absolutely recommend. I personally live by these tips, and these are tips that I feel are really important when it comes to getting the most out of our remote work experience. Now, I will elaborate on the tips to have structure and the last one, which is to experiment. Now, structure is so important, and when I first started working remotely, as I mentioned, I had 0 structure and I wasn't getting much out of working remotely. And long term, what that actually turns into is people failing at working remotely, and they might end up going to traditional work again, or they just might feel like remote work isn't what everyone makes it out to be, and then they end up going back to traditional work, or they job hop. There's a lot of different ways that can go, but lack of structure is sort of the root cause of that. So if I can emphasize anything, make sure that you have structure in your remote work routine, and that's going to help you do this work style long term, to where you aren't looking to go back to traditional work, or you don't have to go back to traditional work. You can work remotely long term because it's going to take structure, which takes discipline. And then finally, that last tip that I mentioned, I just want to emphasize that experimenting with your routine, experimenting with the things that you do during the work week is really important also to your long-term success working remotely. Everyone's schedule and routine does not look the same. Everyone isn't able to sustain that same routine. So if you were to do my routine, it might not work for you. You might end up feeling tired or burnt out, or you're just not as productive as you could be. Because as I mentioned, there's a lot of different ways that you can structure your day depending on the type of opportunity that you work. So for someone like myself, since I make my own schedule, I'm a business owner, I'm able to figure out with a little bit more autonomy what works for me. But even back when I was an online tutor, I still had to come up with what worked for me, which was not watching daytime TV, keeping the TV turned off, not waking up super late, even though I didn't have to work until the mid-afternoon, and not doing a lot of the things that I would typically reserve for the weekend. I had to stop doing those things. And once I stopped, I was getting a lot more out of my remote work experience, and I was also a lot more productive, which eventually led me to not having to be an online tutor, but having my own business. So this is really important stuff, and it may not seem like it, but this is a long-term work style. This isn't something that you want to, just jump in and jump out and dabble in. If you're serious about it, you want it to be long-term, and it's really going to take structure and making sure you stick to that structure and all of the other tips I mentioned, and you figure out what works for you through the experimentation. So that's my final 2 cents on that topic. But now I want to turn it over to you all and hear from you in the comment section. What tip or tips really stood out to you that you're going to start implementing? Or are there any tips that you also want to add to this list that will help with working more efficiently while working remotely? And whatever else you might feel like you want to add. So I really want to hear from you all now in the comment section below. Let's get a great remote work discussion going. This is a topic I'm passionate about, and I really enjoyed speaking at the 2020 Remote Work Summit, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed speaking on the topic. So I want to hear from you all now, and I'll be in the comment section, so join me there. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.